Hello, I'm Blossom, and this is the third episode of the Zenith Report. We have so much to talk about today, starting off with a community story from Rahne, followed by an update about the server from Lance, and finally, ending with a little Notorious Monster lore, as well as a story about said monster from me. Before we start though, I'd like to wish everyone a happy Doll Festival, as well as a happy upcoming Easter. In FF11, the Doll Festival was held for the first time in February 27th till March 4th in 2004, based on the Japanese Girls' Day, also known as Onna no Ko no Hi. Tiered doll decorations were placed around the three nations, and participants could obtain Hume rice cake, Elven rice cake, Mithrin rice cake, and Taru Taru rice cake, which allows players to take on the appearance of a female child of that respective race. Then there's the egg hunt, where eggs with letters inscribed on them could be found and traded for various rewards. So, wishing you all a happy Girls' Day, and may you find many eggs. Now, let's start off with our community story today. Rahne says, "This is from my experience in Horizon XI, but I think it reflects the Final Fantasy XI community as a whole, so I wanted to share it. HXI has a retro achievement system, which is pretty much just a task list of quests to do. I wanted to get them all completed as a little goal for myself. So, the past week or so, I've been running around in my free time fighting random NMs, farming items, and just overall exploring. The one thing I've noticed is that when I ask others for help, they don't say no. Random thieves will help me farm items in the zone. One Beastmaster helped me get a coffer key before he logged for sleep. Another guy told me which mobs drop which items. Parenthesis, curse you, Royal Jelly, end parenthesis. And even my link shell mates drop everything to fight a notorious monster or help me with Garledge Citadel gates. I don't offer to pay anyone, and nobody asks for payment. But everyone is willing to sacrifice a few minutes of their day to help me with my silly little quests, and I find it the most wholesome thing ever. When I started, I was worried I'd be spending months trying to do this. Right now, I have 11 left to do, and will easily get through them before Thanksgiving. With how much folks are helping, it's been a breath of fresh air seeing the community help out strangers and just overall be nice and wholesome. Thank you so much, Rahne, for sharing this story. I hope that by the time I'm recording this, you would have completed all the achievements, and if so, congratulations. I think the one thing that keeps me coming back again and again to FF11 is how willing and happy people are to help others and just enjoy a good time together, whether they be friends or strangers. Whether it's farming items or fighting NMs, or lamenting the fact that an NM got stolen from right under our noses, it all helps build an experience that is hard to find anywhere else. And I think this song from Final Fantasy XI reflects nicely on these shared experiences. Everlasting Bonds by Naoshi Mizuta. And when we come back, I have some exciting updates from Lance. and welcome back. Up next is an update from Lance. And he says, "Hello everyone. We recently completed a partial guild audit that's been merged into LSB. The focus was on item availability, initial stock, and maximum stock. Erroneous items have been removed and missing items added. A secondary focus of the audit was to improve prices and restocks for the guilds. Prices were standardized across guilds, but a full audit of daily restock and price ranges is still needed. The overall result is a significant improvement for guilds for the entire community. On the Zenith front, our internal food rebalance review is complete, with previews shared in Discord. Not all foods were adjusted. Some received only minor tweaks. The existing hierarchy of food remains in place, but other options were given greater relevance, particularly early in the game or before Chains of Promethea, when foods like sushi or pasta became available. Materials that were primarily used in these underpowered recipes should become more useful. More insight into these food changes will be shared in the future announcement. Stay tuned. The team is now reviewing armor balance, including bringing out-of-era items into level 75 cap. Finally, we've worked through most of the current batch of testing tickets. I'd like to extend a special thanks to our testing team, particularly Miguel, also known as McGiggles, who has gone above and beyond, including opening a GitHub account to improve guarding calculations at LSB, after identifying an issue while testing our adjustments to a monk's guarding rate during dodge. There's further development ahead and more tickets to be created before we move to beta. A few recent applications have come in, which is great, but we can always use more help. Anyone interested in development is welcome to apply and help us cross the finish line." Thank you, Lance, so much for the update. As you can see, lots of work is being done and we are moving full speed ahead, so I can't wait for the next update as we march closer and closer to beta. And finally, we have our last segment of the day, a little bit of lore about two notorious monsters, Argus and the Leech King in the Maze of Shakrami. As a side note, these two are a pain to camp, simply because either one or the other spawns, and you never know which until it's too late. Now, the origins of Argus comes from Greek mythology. More specifically, the myth of Io. Io was a nymph and a priestess of Hera. However, Zeus soon became enamored with her, and so he had an affair with Io, and to prevent Io from being taken revenge on by the jealousy of his wife Hera, he turned her into a pure white cow. Hera, not being tricked by any of this, demanded that a white cow, more specifically Io, be sacrificed to her as an offering. In order to prevent Zeus from rescuing Io, Hera sent the 100-eyed giant, Argus, to guard her. With 100 eyes, Argus never slept. He only ever closed a few eyes at once to rest, and so he was basically a 24/7 ancient surveillance camera. Zeus, however, sent in Hermes, disguised as a shepherd, to get rid of Argus. Hermes went up to Argus and started telling him very boring stories, eventually putting all of Argus's eyes to sleep, enabling him to slay the giant. For his dedication to his duty, Hera memorialized Argus by putting his eyes on the tail of a peacock, a favorite animal of hers, which explains why it drops, or the Notorious Monster drops, the peacock amulet. There is a little bit more to the mythology of Io, but Argus's part ends here, and so that's where we'll end. As to my story about farming Argus and the Lich King, well, it goes a bit like this. In the early days of Vanadel, I had a friend, and that friend had a peacock amulet. Now, this was back when I didn't really understand stats yet. I don't know why it was good, I just knew that my friend walked into a room wearing it, people noticed. So, I asked, very casually, very innocently, "Hey, where'd you get that?" And my friend just says, "Oh, that? Maze of Shakrami." No follow-up, no warning, no, "This will fundamentally change you as a person." Just Maze of Shakrami. Now, here's the problem though. I didn't even know where the maze was. And no one explained that part. Because if you've never been there before, the entrance is not obvious. It's not marked. It's just there, tucked into a weird little corner of the Merifatod Mountains. So, I spent an embarrassing amount of time running around Merifatod thinking, okay, this can't be it, and surely I would have noticed a dungeon entrance by now. I did not notice it. Eventually, after more wandering than I care to admit, I found it, and immediately thought, oh, that's, subtle. It was like the maze didn't want visitors, like it was hoping you'd give up before you ever went inside. So of course, I went in. At the time, I was still pretty new, and information traveled almost entirely by word of mouth in Linkshell chats, /tells, or someone who sounded confident enough that you trusted them. And the maze? The maze did not reward confidence. I got lost immediately, and not just once, but constantly. Every tunnel looked the same, every turn felt wrong. I swear I was making progress, only to end up somewhere I'd already been, staring at the screen like the dungeon itself was quietly rearranging itself behind my back. Eventually, I did what every new adventurer did back then. I followed someone. No party invite, no greeting, just silent trust and the thought, that person looks like they know where they're going. And somehow, miraculously, I end up where the Whisperers lived. People said that deep in the maze, there was 2 notorious monsters. Argus, the gathered massive eyes that somehow felt like it wasn't just watching your character, but you. And Leech King, a bloated horror whose entire existence seemed dedicated to prevent Argus from showing up. Never both, never convenient, and no one could ever quite explain why. The area was always overcamped. Always. People spaced out just enough to pretend we weren't camping. Every single one of us convinced we'd be the one to get the next necklace. And this is where the rumors really took over. Someone told me, very seriously, that if you killed the protozoan slimes, it would force Argus to pop. Someone else said killing them resets the timer. Someone else swore you had to leave exactly one alive, and it had to have respawned in the little bone hut. Another person insisted that it wasn't slimes at all, but it was the scorpions. So, naturally, everyone was killing everything. It was chaos, fueled entirely by rumor. And because I was new, and because this whole journey started with a shiny necklace my friend had, I believed all of it. And then I learned the most important lesson the maze ever taught me. The maze knows when you walk away. I could camp for hours. Nothing. Camp all day. Nothing. Camp until I started questioning my life choices. Still nothing. But the moment I stood up and thought, okay, I'll just step away 1 second. Pop. Every single time. It was like the maze waited for that exact moment when your guard dropped just a little and decided now was funny. When I finally got the spawn after days of this, there was no crowd, no dramatic music in my head, no cinematic moment. There was just a Beastmaster calmly killing scorpions nearby. Totally unbothered, just another part of their daily routine. I killed it, hands shaking a little, heart going way faster than it needed to be. And when it was over, the Beastmaster just stops, looks over, and asks, "Did you get the drop?" And I did. And for a second, just a second, it felt unreal. Like the maze had finally decided I'd paid enough. Like all the wandering, all the getting lost, all the rumors and half-truths had finally added to something. And that's when it clicked. The maze didn't care how lost I was. It didn't care which rumor I believed. It didn't care how many slimes I killed just in case. It wasn't about knowledge. It was about endurance, about trusting word of mouth, about finding a hidden entrance in the corner of a mountain and staying long enough for Vanadel to finally nod back. And honestly, that's how the game taught us everything back then. Not with answers, but by seeing who was willing to stay. And all in all, I was left with one profound revelation. This NM sucked to camp. And that story concludes today's Zenith Report. I hope everybody enjoyed. Thank you so much for sticking around. I have one final announcement, or more like a shout out. I would like to shout out Astro for their amazing artwork in creating a bunch of emojis for us at the server and basically creating a server mascot. So if you haven't joined the Zenith server simply just to check out the adorable emojis, you really should. And I'm Blossom, and this has been the Zenith Report.